how I would coach you through a bad week step by step. Hey team, and welcome to this week's episode of The Inspired Show, the show that's dedicated to helping you become the best version of yourself mentally as well as physically. I've got an absolutely cracking episode for you this week, all about overcoming these challenging weeks. But before we delve into it, if you've not done this already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you stay updated every single time a new episode drops. Smash a like on this video and don't forget to share it with somebody who may benefit as well. Now, this week's episode is all about overcoming these difficult, challenging weeks. And this is something that I've experienced many times myself personally, where I've had a week where nothing is going right. Despite the best intentions at the beginning of the week to eat healthy, to get my steps and to hit my gym workouts, life has thrown curveballs at me. And when I've missed that meal, or I've missed that gym session, I've missed my step target, I've gone, what's the point? I've already missed a couple of sessions. I've already had a couple of meals that are off track. So what's the point? You know what? I'll just start again next week. But this mentality of self-sabotage and perfectionism kept me stuck for years. And it's something that a lot of the guys who joined the Built to Inspire program experience before we start coaching with them. And we're going to run through exactly how to overcome that in today's episode. So if you find any points of this helpful, please let me know in the comments because your feedback is invaluable and I love to see what are your biggest takeaways as well. So firstly, we're going to look at the reasons why these bad weeks happen and we self-sabotage and we fall off track. Now, one of the biggest reasons they happen is because we have this perfectionism mindset where we believe in order to make progress, we've got to be 100% on it, either all in or all out. And this is massively keeping us stuck because what this means in reality is when life gets difficult and it throws curveballs at us and we miss that healthy meal or we miss that gym session or we miss our step target, we get into the minds of, well, I already missed a couple of targets. What's the point in trying for the rest of the week? I'll just start again next week. And what this then does, it reinforces that all nothing mindset because you then start a brand new week. We're trying to hit all your targets perfectly, but every time life gets chaotic and gets busy, you end up self-sabotaging because you believe you cannot be perfect. What's the point in trying? So we've got no systems, we've got no standards, which means we're never making any real progress. We're taking one step forwards and 10 steps back. So we're going to go through step by step on how I would help you overcome this if you're one of my coaching clients. Now, one thing we do inside a coaching program is we have regular coaching calls on a one-to-one basis. Now, if you were to come to me when your week is being chaotic, what we would do is implement our 5-step system to help you realign and change this challenging week into a really successful week. Now, the 5-step system is 5 phases that we teach all our clients in our coaching program for real life, because life is chaotic, it can get a bit wild and it can throw curveballs at us, and it's not about being perfect. So the first step is why. Whenever somebody joins the program, we help them create a powerful reason to change. Now, whilst the surface level of people joining is they want to lose weight, when we start digging a little bit deeper, it's not the weight loss they want. They want the confidence, they want the energy, they want the health, they want the freedom to become that best version of themselves. So when they're having a challenging week, what we do is we realign them. We realign them and remind them of why they're on this journey. We use it as an anchor. And without that anchor, it can be so easy to go off track because we're mostly reliant on motivation if we haven't got that motivational anchor when it comes to the why. And motivation, it's unreliable. It comes and goes. And when we have these chaotic weeks, it has gone out the window. So realigning you with your why is super important. So the first step of when you're having these challenging weeks is remind yourself why you embarked on this journey to begin with. Why was it so important to you? It wasn't simply to lose the weight, it was to have the confidence, but more than that, it was to have the confidence to wear the clothes you want to wear. It was to have the confidence to be able to be in the family photo rather than taking the family photo. It's to have the confidence to be more intimate with your partner. Remind yourself of why you're on this journey, and that is super important. The second thing we would do in these challenging weeks is we'd reset our expectations, because step number 2 is all about realistic expectations. Now, weeks are going to change from month to month during different times of the year. There are going to be some weeks that are less chaotic and some weeks that are really chaotic, and sometimes they're going to come out of the blue. We can't foresee some challenging weeks, but our expectations need to be fluid. They need to be adjustable. They shouldn't be set in stone. And this is something that's very important to remember. So the expectation shouldn't be being perfect. The expectation is to hold set standards. Now, when it comes to your goals of becoming happy, healthy, confident, that's going to come as a byproduct of your daily habits and rituals. Now, if we can have expectations in terms of what we fall back on, that's going to help us move forward. So instead of having the expectation of eating healthy every single meal, we have the expectation of having a healthy breakfast, a healthy lunch, and a healthy dinner, and then anything around that's a bonus. The expectation should be to go to the gym 5 times a week. It should be to maybe go to the gym or have a workout once or twice a week, even if it's a 15-minute blast, to keep the body moving, but also keep the mindset sharp and help you overcome any mental stresses. The expectation should be to get X amount of steps. It should be to maybe get a 5-10-minute walk where you can. So setting realistic expectations during these challenging weeks is super, super important. The third thing we would do is we'd help you align those efforts and remind yourself what are the bare minimums we need to do to stay on track this week. And for different weeks, it's going to look different for different people. So for example, if you had a really hectic week, it might not be feasible to get your workouts in, but it might be feasible to go for a 5-minute walk after your lunch. It might not be feasible to stay within your calories every single day because there might be loads of social events going on, but it may be feasible to hit your protein target and hit your fiber target. So what we do is we focus on the efforts that we can control and build consistency in that. The fourth thing we would do is we would utilize this week as a learning curve and help you identify what the bottlenecks were for this week being so challenging. Because if we can address the bottlenecks, what that can do is allow us to learn from these challenging situations and overcome it. So for example, we're trying to assess why has it been so chaotic? Why have we not been able to stick to our targets this week? So for example, you might have gone into this week thinking you're going to be plain sailing, nothing major. So you didn't really think about doing any food prep because you thought you'd be able to make your food when you got home, stress-free, so on and so forth. But everything's going wrong in work. You have to stay later, and you have to go and pick up the kids from school. All these things are going wrong. So by the time you've gotten home, you've not done any food prep this week. You're going to just cook when you got home, but you're exhausted, you're stressed, and you're overwhelmed. And that's been a bit of a bottleneck where you end up overindulging, getting a takeout, something that isn't aligned with your goals for that week. So we identify it and say, right, okay, what can we use to learn from this next time? A bit of meal prep, a high protein microwave meal. These things we need to be thinking about to help us stay on track. And then the fifth step is all about that consistency, okay, not perfection. We reinforce that we're looking for consistent behaviors over time rather than perfect behaviors all the time, because consistent action will always trump inconsistent perfection. And this is something we need to be very, very mindful of. What we then do as part of step number 5 in the consistency is simply map out the next 3 days based on how challenging the past couple of days have been in that week. We'd map out some quick wins with your food, some quick wins with your movement, and some quick wins with your accountability to realign you and get back on track with what you need to be doing. And that in itself will help you massively. And funny enough, when I was doing my check-ins today, I came across a very similar situation of what we've been talking about. One Legends in the Built to Inspire program told me that this week was going completely wrong, that they hadn't tracked for 3 days, they'd missed all their workouts, and they were just feeling really overwhelmed. Now, what I told this client was, this isn't failure, this is data, this is feedback. Understanding where we're going wrong and building awareness to it is the first step in overcoming it. And that's super, super important. So instead of burying our head in the sand, what we actually did was we zoomed out and we kind of identified what was the reason why they'd overeaten, why they'd missed their training targets, and why they were feeling overwhelmed. And it was a combination of a few different things. So 1, it was lack of planning at the start of the week. 2, it was highly stressed moments in work and at home. And 3, it was just feeling mentally exhausted, emotionally exhausted, and then turning to food as a way to deal with that. So now we've identified what the issue is, we've brought awareness to it and identified what we can do to overcome it. We then put a simple plan of action in place for this individual. So the first thing that we did was we reset her targets for the week. We simply wiped the slate clean. So instead of following a calorie target for the next couple of days, what we did was we set them a core goal of eating 3 nutrient-dense meals regardless of the calories, just to start building momentum. And as a bit of accountability, what I asked them to do was send me the meals they're going to be eating so they could plan them in, but then also send me a picture of those meals once they'd made them so they could stay accountable. What we then did was we took their structured training program and we combined it into 2 full body workouts instead of having the main sessions that they would be doing this week instead. And we took those workouts and we simplified them and made them shorter using some different methods of training so they could still get their sessions in and they could fit it into the hectic week upcoming. Again, a really great way to build up some momentum and get some quick wins. And then thirdly, what we did is we helped them plan in some self-care to alleviate that stress, reduce the overwhelm, but also encourage them to have an open, honest conversation with their boss to help them with what they're going through in their work, and also with their partner in terms of building better boundaries in terms of housework, kids, so they can have a bit of time for themselves as well to reduce that overwhelm. And lo and behold, by the time we got to the end of the week, I had a message back from this individual saying that their week had ended so much better, and if they hadn't had that intervention from me, in the past, they would have normally buried their head in the sand and it would have snowballed into a much bigger issue where they'd end up staying stuck for months. But because we brought awareness to it, we realigned them, anchored them as the reasons why they want to change, it helped them massively stay on track. So remember, during busy, chaotic weeks, it is completely normal. You're human and you are going to have them. But as long as you address them in this way, I guarantee it's going to help you massively in your journey to become that best version of yourself. Now, if you like this way of overcoming the challenges and you want more insight, we're going to be dropping some real gold inside our free WhatsApp support group all this week. So if you haven't joined our support group, simply comment with the word WhatsApp, and then what I'll do is I'll send you the link where you can get involved inside the support group and you can get even more gold to help you reach your goals. Again, massive thank you for joining in this week's episode, and we'll catch you again next week.